Recording in progress.
Okay, sir, you have the floor.
Thanks, John. Thank you very much. Welcome, Douglas County citizens. My name is Kelly Robinson. This is the September 22nd, 2022 Transportation Committee of the Board of Commissioners. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a pretty full agenda today, so we're going to do our first order of business, make sure we have a quorum established. We'll go around the room within our committee to acknowledge all participating members. Kelly Robinson, Chair of the Committee, present.
Frederick Perry, Deputy County Administrator, present.
Miguel Valentin, Transportation Director, present.
Keith Cowart, Public Works Director, present.
Ron? No, we got Ron Roberts as well. Hey, Ron, you want to introduce yourself?
Sorry, I was on mute. Ron Roberts, Connect Douglas, present.
Very good, thank you, Ron. All right, so we've got a majority of our members here. For the record, Madam Dr. William Jackson Jones, our chair, is now present, nor is our Assistant County Administrator, Tiffany Stewart Stanley. So we've got 5 out of 7, so we will go ahead with the order of business. Next up is, before we go any further, housekeeping. There's some new staff additions, so people need to be introduced now, so I'm going to yield and allow you guys to go ahead and do your introduction to the broader public and the committee, please.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I believe we have an introduction of new staff from Sierra McCoy from our production group. Sierra, take it away.
Thanks, Miguel. Just wanted to introduce everyone to Tuan. He just helps out with streaming the committee meetings. So I just wanted Commissioner Robinson, as well as Madam Chair and Fred Perry, to be aware that he'll be helping us out on some committee meetings in the future. That's pretty much it. Thanks, Miguel.
Thank you. Tuan, again, welcome on behalf of the full steering committee of the Board of Commissioners. We welcome you, and you're going to play a vital role for us getting the message out. It's always key. So we appreciate your presence and your challenge. Miguel?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. The next item on the agenda would be the adoption of the minutes from August 16th, 2022 meeting. They have been distributed, and if there are no changes or additions, deletions from the floor, they're ready to be adopted.
All right, guys, can I get a motion to adopt the August 16, 2022 Transportation Committee meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Director Ron Roberts and second by Deputy County Administrator Fred Perry. All in favor will go around the room and give your yes or no. Kelly Robinson, yes.
Frederick Perry, yes.
Miguel Valentin, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Cowart, yes.
All right. All members were accounted for. We got a unanimous vote to adopt the meeting minutes. I'm going to shift this just a little bit. There's no objections to rearranging the meeting's topics or order of business. I want to bring Keith Cowart up first so he can get in and get out. Director Valentin, so if Director Cowart is ready, go ahead and make forth your presentation, and let's keep this agenda moving.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So I'm just going to go over the finished facts of the transfer station. We had a new concrete floor put in, and everybody, all the haulers, everybody using that is super happy. They came in, they've stopped, walked in the office, shook my hand, said thank you very much. You know, this makes our life a lot better. So everybody really appreciate the new floor at the transfer station. But we put it, we used some of the millings to get this upgrade up to, you know, a standard that we wanted. Then we added 5,000 PSI concrete with fiber in it. Had a number 5 rebar on 12-inch centers. So, I mean, that's pretty strong slab there. And I've done some that were not as strong for other organizations, but let's just say this is above what the minimum was for that, and it's gonna stand there for a long time. And so far it's doing great. You know, we had to shift off, we had to put some people down, we had to put the transfer station, kind of juggle the actual schedule to get people in and out of there, the haulers, and to actually have it by itself to work on. So it was a lot of 4 days of just kind of a lot of changes at the landfill, but everybody working together, and it turned out a really good result. And then at the very end of it, we were able to get back $16,125 of that was over bid. So we did our job. We took their quote. We picked them, we watched them, and then at the end of it, we got a check back. So that doesn't happen very often. I just wanted to point that out. Do you have any other questions, sir?
Great. You know, very good news, and I'm glad to hear that it was a successful project. That's great implementation. That's what we're about, is execution at this time. So I appreciate that. To that point, again, the savings obviously is acknowledged. Yes, that is something worth saying. And we always want to acknowledge that. I mean, you got to pay for what you got to pay, but when they came in with an efficiency that allowed them not to have to realize that total budget allocation, that's great. So very good. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving. Before I let you go, though, real quick, this for the record. How is our resurfacing program? Today is the first day of fall. And obviously we got a little bit late start this year in resurfacing, but how is this year's round going so far?
It's going good so far. I would say we're on midway in Midview Drive. We'll finish up with that the end of the week, and then move on to, I believe it's Lindsay Brook after that. So I would say the printout that I have, and looking at the finished roads and the roads left to go, we're getting closer. We're about a third of the way. So we're making good progress. Haven't had any issues that have came up other than the speed hump issue at Brookmont. That's another discussion, but that's the only thing I've had pop up, sir.
No problem. I appreciate that. And to the citizens of Brookmont who are interested in for anybody who's listening to this committee, there is an opportunity if in fact somewhere within your neighborhood there is some type of operational safety, speeding issues, cut throughs and stuff that we will look into that. There is a formal process in what the administration has in place. There is an application, but nonetheless, thank you, Heath, for taking leadership on that, and I'm sure you'll get to where it needs to get to at some point. All right, thank you, Heath. That's all we need. You're relieved. Thank you from the committee.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, we're going to get back on, keep going with our agenda. Director Valentin, I believe, Director Roberts wants to at least introduce somebody as well. We're going to shift to that, and then we'll go back to the normal schedule that you had outlined.
Okay, that'll work. Yeah, Ron, if you can.
Yes. Okay, let me share my screen real quick. You'll see it?
Not yet.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. So we had several items from Connect Douglas. I wanted to introduce Bob Carr and his wife. They operate, I first met Bob about 10 years ago when I was on the Mobility Management Council committee at Atlanta Regional Commission. We've known him a long time. So the slide is up is concerning his nonprofit organization. And the reason I wanted to introduce him here is we'd be looking at, we got some ARPA funds last year, and we'd be looking to possibly push this through a procurement, but it was an idea of Jessica, our voucher administrator, and that we look at a pilot program with senior services. And because they also got some ARPA funds, and so I wanted to let Bob and his wife introduce themselves very briefly, and explain what common courtesy is and how it works and what they've done in other counties. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, thank you, and Ian can chime in here as well. Thank you all for asking us to be a part of this this meeting. Common Courtesy is a 16-year-old nonprofit. We started with the reality that not all adults need to continue to drive for the rest of their life. There needs to be another system. So we started out with utilizing volunteers in our community, Fulton County, and quickly found out that we couldn't get enough volunteers because the demand was so high. As you, I'm sure, are experiencing as well, the high demand and the high need for transportation. So after beginning that, we almost had to shut it down. We still were passionate about it, but couldn't continue until the rideshare program came along. First it was Uber, and then it became Lyft. And we went through a painful period of explaining what Uber and Lyft were to people about 6-8 years ago, and there was a lot of pushback. Now they're very well accepted modes of transportation. We now conduct a little over 1,100 trips every day. We either use our own in-house dispatchers, or we teach you how to dispatch and watch the trips. The riders, when they need transportation, we refer to it as on demand, because they can call in and our dispatchers can get a car out to them within 10-15 minutes. As the slide says, riders and caregivers, and by the way, there are up to 3 passengers per car that can go at the same rate because it's a cost per car. We encourage them to have a cell phone to receive calls and updates if you experience Uber or Lyft. There's a one-time registration. They can register online or send us a paper form. Once they're registered, they're assigned a unique ID so that we know who is traveling. We know who to contact in case anything should go wrong. And then we give them a dedicated line. So if Douglas County should adopt this program, then you would have a dedicated call-in line for your residents. The big thing, no cash ever exchanges hands. We ask riders not to tip. We don't tip the riders, we don't tip the riders either, but we don't tip the drivers, and that's just not a part of the program. So the subsidy comes from you as the entity Douglas County, however that's appropriated. You can ask them to subsidize $1, $2, $3, whatever you decide. We're here for you. And then that fee is charged to a card that is retained securely on file once a month. We bill those cards. So, anything?
No, I think you're covering it. That's just the basics.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of back office stuff that has gone into this. I will say we're probably now in section today close to 500,000 trips delivered. So we've proved this system works. It was a concept a long time ago, but it is a fantastic, loving, working concept program right now.
And I'll add in this thing that we schedule the rides, and our dispatchers are called TLCs. They watch over these rides to make sure that the rider and the driver connect to be picked up, and then when they're headed back home, to make sure they connect again and get all the way back home. So it's sort of like having little guardian angel with them. So, when they're riding.
Good point, yeah. We're the intermediary between the rider and the rideshare company. But we'll stop with that and ask if there are any questions.
Thank you, Paratransit, for that. Obviously, I get your presentation, and I'm sure citizens were enlightened by it. And mobility is important in Douglas County. It's something that we believe. It has a regional aspect to it. I hear you obviously operating out of Fulton County, which we get that. I'm quite sure I can envision that demand and what that means. And everybody doesn't have a car. You know, we did a transportation study 7 years ago, where you go from 2-car, 1 car to no car, or you've aged to a point, or you just at a place where you're not driving. I'm legally blind. I'm all over Uber. I do Uber every day. So what you're saying, I can read your business model. Got it. Understand it quite well. For whatever reason, it's called mobility options. There's various options that obviously can be deployed within a community or market. I do have a couple of questions for you. Now, I want to focus on the back office. And so you're saying that you have the dispatch, you're doing the dispatching, and you say that you do you're the intermediary between the actual rider and the true on-demand service provider. And so they call you and you're just facilitating, you're overseeing. Are the drivers yours? Or they truly are, you're a correspondent. You're creating your entry point for Uber and Lyft. So this is more of a marketing alliance toward them. And I guess the question is, okay, so who pays for the actual trip? I've got to go, it costs me roughly about $20 to go from where I live on Riverside to the courthouse. $20 one way. Who pays for giving a car of one? Who pays for that trip? How does the money flow?
So yes, we're, let me go back to your first point of how they're called in and dispatched. There's a concierge portal. And each of our TLCs, and came up with that name. We had to back into travel logistics coordinators, but they talk to the rider and they confirm the pickup. They confirm all of the details of the trip before they send that car. They do that from the concierge portal for both Uber and Lyft, which we're proud to say we helped both of them develop 7 years ago. Who pays then for the trip? Douglas County would receive at the end of the month, before the 10th, oftentimes before the 5th, a ledger showing all of the trips that were taken, where all of the details that is required, what time it happened, who it was, where they went, if they came back, and the cost of the trip. Now, in Fulton's case, the rider pays $1 for that trip, and so we discount that back to Fulton. In Forsyth County's case, the rider pays $2, and so we discount that trip by $2. That trip costs by $2, and then it would go through an account payable within Douglas County to pay that, usually within 30 days. We hope.
Yeah, and let me just add this real quickly. It's up to you in Douglas County how they want this to work out. There's some groups that maybe are not a county, but different groups that say we want the rider to pay half of the charge. We want the rider to pay none of the charge. So it's totally up to you how you would do that. Also, Fulton has set parameters mileage-wise, and also the number of trips per month. So it's not just like open-ended, and they can go anywhere, anytime, whatever.
And type of trip, we code everything so that it could be a medical trip, it could be a quality of life trip, or it could be a senior center trip, or again, you tell us what you want us to designate, and we provide that information to you. So you set the speed limit, we'll enforce it.
Right, so again, so that means that Douglas County is paying the $20 trip, and they get a $2, $1, whatever the case may be, or some other variable we're going to share in the cost of this. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. It's
Got
just
it.
actual trip cost, the Uber or the Lyft rideshare fare.
Okay. So you've got an existing relationship with these drivers. These are not your drivers. They're a part of the Lyft and the Uber. All the liability that comes with that. Is that who's bearing this? And again,
Yes, we did try in the beginning to secure drivers. As we mentioned, we volunteered. Couldn't get enough. We were paying for their insurance, and when we partnered with these rideshare companies, providers, they do all of that back office. They check the MVRs, they make sure the cars are in good working condition. You know, they want quality cars out there on the road. So they do all that. We deal directly with their headquarters, both are located in San Francisco, their headquarters, and we have dedicated support staff for common courtesy because the volume's so high that if, let's say, a driver randomly forgets to turn off their app and they continue to drive and the trip was supposed to have ended, then we just note that and it's credited back. The driver thought they were making a lot of money, but they get paid only for the beginning to end point that was put in.
right, so there is no room for, to your point, that drive just turned from $20 to $30. So the actual transaction is coming to the county. All right, so I think I get it. All right, and this is good. I thank you for that. Again, just for our steering committee, for those who listen to it, I live this every day. The role that you play is what my legislative aid does for me. For those people who need a little bit more care, I can't see. I can't see the texts. I can't see what you say, what dial your code in. It's that extra care. It's that little small thing. And it's invaluable. It helps give assurances for mobility that we can keep moving, the dignity. Because again, it's like, okay, I can't press the button. And so I get this. And I get how for this would be practical, not for everybody, but just those who actually need a little bit extra help, need a little bit more reasonable care. Obviously, our seniors. So I can't belabor this right now. This is not a decision moment. I'm sure you submit information to Ron regarding your full program. But I'm going to yield right now and allow my other committee members, if y'all got any questions for this, but you guys have sufficiently answered my questions for the moment. Steering committee members, any questions?
Yes, this is Miguel Valentin. I do have a question.
You have the floor to answer. Debbie, I got you next, sir.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you mentioned that you coordinate the trips. What is your area of operation? For example, within Fulton County, if somebody wanted to go to, I don't know, Gwinnett County, somewhere, there's a doctor in Gwinnett County, would that still be a trip that you would coordinate?
You have hit the nail on the head. Another great question. Yeah, as Ann mentioned, you set the parameters. So in Fulton County, they can go up to 10 miles for a community-based trip or a senior center trip. They can go up to 15 miles for a medical trip. So when they call in, our dispatcher, our KLC is going to ask, is this medical? Is this, obviously if they're going to Walmart, it's not medical for the most part. But, yeah, and Forsyth County set a different parameter that they can go anywhere within the bounds of Forsyth County. Forsyth obviously not being as big as Fulton County, that would be hard for Fulton County to bear that cost. But to keep your costs in line, you should, in our opinion, say, we don't want you going outside of 15 miles, outside of 10 miles, whatever you say.
But
for the small costs that they're paying, it's a great service and should be capped at some point.
right, but Fulton County does allow their riders to travel outside of Fulton County. If they originate or end up in Fulton County, that's one of the other. But they definitely can cross county lines. So that's not a problem. So like Bob said, it would be up to you and how you wanted to set it up.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that answers my question. Another follow-up question, if I may. In terms of the cost, do you have a sense for, say, your operation in Fulton, what the average trip is?
Yes, sir, I do. That total, let's see. The average cost over the length of that agreement is $16.61.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to-
Well, the premise is, and Dr. Blake, Senior Services Director, when seniors don't want to go more than 5 or 6 miles outside of the radius. They just, the point here is that if they live in a residential community and their medical center is across the street, it might as well be downtown Atlanta. They can't get there. And so we do a ton of just little short 1 and 2 mile trips that offset all of those averages.
Good. Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I had.
Thank you. Deputy Administrator, sir.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. No questions. Actually, really good questions from the committee. My questions have been asked already. Have been centered around, who do the drivers actually report to, and the radius of the rides. So they've been addressed. I don't want to follow those up. It sounds as though it's a really good program. Just the fine points of it need to be clarified. And I do want to ask Bob, how successful has this program been in other communities?
It is, every time a community takes it on, usually they're saying, we really need this. We're behind in our ability to deliver truth. And then we're doing the heavy lifting. So it just takes off. And the gratification, if you want to go to our website sometime and see some of the comments, people just absolutely love it. I'm not touting ourselves. I'm touting the program. It's
Okay.
so needed for so long, and it's a as Ann says all the time, it's a feather in your quiver. It's not just
Or a tool in your toolbox.
A tool in your toolbox. It's not a do-all end-all. It's a support mechanism.
Right.
And buses are down when drivers are down when demand is just
Or even when buses are running. Sometimes some people can't access a bus for various reasons, and it's just this kind of fills in all the little gaps of helping people that really and truly do need help.
Absolutely. And Ron, I suspect that you have the website and everything. I would like to go on and look at some of the comments that have been made and just get some feedback there as well. So thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you. All right. So anybody else? All right. So with that being said, I'm going to close this. Again, thank you for your presentation. And there is, we do have a fixed bus route system, but everybody can't access it. We're not all over. Obviously, no different than MARTA is all over Fulton and DeKalb and now Clayton. There are pockets of people who just can't get there.
Mm-hmm.
If they can get there, they would use it. If you're talking about seniors, I get it. Or those who are less mobile, last thing you need me to do is be walking down Riverside down to the bus stop. But I've done it. But again, I've got different risk propensity. But to your point, I hear you. And that there are what we call the last mile, and they should be acknowledged as well. They are taxpayers as well, and they need mobility options as well. So it's great to have options, and people get to self-select into what they want to do. My final comment, this is back to this dispatch. So I do 50 trips a month, basically, just me alone, the county commissioner inside my little, our little bubble. Probably about a 15, 20-mile bubble. Got it, 15. So you say you do about 1,000 a day. I do 50 a month. But how many dispatchers, how big, if you added us, what type of impact would that be? And would they be dedicated to just us? How does that work? Because it's really about the infrastructure. It's that back operations. It's that information to make sure this really works. So it's one thing to volunteer, but it's another if we got to fund this thing, it's got to have some type of institutional grade to support consistency of experience. That's what. Go ahead.
Great question again. We have a family really of PLCs that we've acquired over time, and they have a chat system that they chat with each other throughout the day. So they are a family, a community of people who are making sure that these cars get there and get there on time. We ran a data poll, I think last week. We're getting about 1.2 calls every minute, and we're not missing anything. We're organized because we can't not be organized. We can't strand somebody, nor can we not meet their transportation request. So I encourage you, if you have a minute, to go on our website, which was just redone about a year ago, and the pictures of not only all of our TLCs who are in-house paid. We don't outsource anything. So the TLC's pictures and bios are on there, as well as our board of directors, which we're very proud to have. All that's on the website.
Yeah. A couple of there are a few more TLCs that are not on there, and we've got people who want to come and work with us. Yeah.
Good point.
So it is a beautifully amazing, efficient, respectful system, and it still blows my mind how beautifully it works.
Well, thank you for that. Again, you guys did an excellent job. I could hear you, and there is a sensitivity to how you're approaching this. Everybody wants to make money, right? But I'm hearing out of you, though, that you actually care about the actual rider. It's those small things, and it's not like getting disoriented or being abandoned or alone. The fact that you're saying you're going to care for them from end to end, right? And so you're committed to this, and it's just not that you had a marketing alliance with an Uber. We're just moving people along. So I do appreciate that. I heard that well. Ron, I really would. I mean, at some point we'll double back on this. We'll take it offline. Dr. Gilchrist's opinion would matter to me on this matter. But I want to thank you guys. We got to keep our agenda going. You did a great job, and I know you got to go. But thank you for obviously presenting to us today. And Ron, we'll get back to you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Ron, for organizing that.
Yes.
Okay. We're here if you need us.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Director Valentine, let's keep moving.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We also have on the transit side a presentation from the collaborative firm, and I'm not sure who is going to lead first on that.
Yes, Danielle Cherry Hoover will lead first, and I will follow Kathy Warren.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Danielle, go ahead.
Thank you, Director Valentine. I am loading everything, so give me 2 seconds, and I want to make sure you can see my screen.
Sure.
And I appreciate the collaborative presenting and giving a follow-up on your work for the contracts and awards to the steering committee. And Ron, thank you for coordinating this. So whenever you're ready, Danielle, take it away.
Great, thank you so much. Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So I will be brief in the update. As you all know, we had free rides on the fixed route bus system that just ended prior to the Labor Day weekend. September 3rd. And that was an opportunity to just basically say a thank you to the community and residents of Douglas County. Transit systems were down 72% across the country. And for those who needed it, very similar to the presentation that we just received, those who need it. And I'm very proud to work with Connect Douglas for offering this another level of service to the public. So in the summer, this past summer was 3 years of the fixed bus route. So hence the almost three full months of free rides. And with that, let me give another quick update about the fixed bus ridership to date. So the high level overview is that ridership has been up every single month going into this year, beginning mid-January on up to date. So what you see in front of you is 2021 versus 2022 month by month. Most importantly, ridership jumped almost, over 100%, 153% to be exact, from August of 21 to August of 22, month-to-month comparison. So the high-level overview is people are starting to become out and about, and the more education and comfortability that people have, citizens, visitors, etc. of Douglas County, the more they do continue to ride that. One thing of note on this slide, prior to the announcement of free rides, the increase was still going up. So free rides was announced the week of June 14th. So you do see an increase of ridership even prior to that. Next slide is that community events. Going into 2022, the level, the word of the year was enhancement. So the things that we do well, we want to continue, but we want to do more of them and then have room for improvement and for progression. So community events, we average about 3 to 4 community events, and that's just community events, not in addition to the outreach for each month. So upcoming, let me take a step back. Previously, we have a wonderful partnership with the Douglas County Sheriff's Department and Douglasville Police Department. So this is the third year participating in the Hollis Street Jamboree. The very first Mosaic was on September 10th, again, strengthening our partnership with the Arts Council. And then upcoming Fall Festival, and of course, September Saturdays. We'll be there on the 24th with the free shuttle from the Multimodal Transportation Center. So I would, for the citizens who are listening, I would highly encourage, feel free to park at 8800 Doris Road, take the free shuttle down, plenty of parking there. Enjoy yourself, and the shuttles run continuous so you can get right back to your car. Piggybacking off of relationships with the Senior Service Center, so under Director Roberts and Connect Douglas, we do have a good relationship with a senior center, and we'll be at the festival, the Health and Wellness Festival this Friday, so please stop by there. So for the previous 2 months, for outreach in particular, we worked with the Senior Center and had about 4 outreach events in addition to community events, specifically targeted towards seniors. So we were at Fairburn Senior Center, Lithia Springs, and this time around, meaning in the next upcoming months, we're going to target it on students because classes are back in session. Just yesterday, we did a presentation to over 90 students at the Chapel Hill High School, and partnering in particular with Douglas County School System across the board, but targeting it on high schools in particular, and the CTAE, the Career Technical and Agricultural Program, because a lot of those students are going directly into the workforce or going into either trade, etc. So we would hate to have a student have a wonderful job in Douglas County and can't get there. So we're expanding the educational and outreach component to students. So you see here, we do have some upcoming opportunities with a transitions fair, and those are with students with intellectual disabilities. Douglas County school system, like I said, the CTAE programs, and those programs are across all the high schools in the county. And then high school travel training presentations, exactly what we did to Chapel Hill High School just yesterday. And elementary school career day. So that picture in the background was pre-pandemic at their career day. So bus on site, and the kids loved it because they interact, go in and out, and ask questions of the drivers. So with that, I'll pause, and we can absolutely feel free for questions, or we can go right into Douglas County SPLOST.
Well, just hold on just a second. Two different topics, but thank you guys for that. So to the committee, any questions regarding ridership? In essence, it's like we're getting back to normal. We're getting back into the water in essence. It looks like we're just going to continue to be trending. So to that point, we had the summer program, free rides. And so what do you anticipate based on historical, if I'm looking at we're coming up on the next, as opposed to summer, the cycle of summer, what about the cycle of the holidays? Do the ridership go up during that period of time, or what has historically happened during that time? You guys speak to that? Danielle?
I do want to pause and first toss that to Director Roberts before I may reply, since it is an operational question.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I mean, whomever, I'm wanting to just, what do we anticipate? Looking at your historical data, and again, it took me a minute to sort of get my eyes on it, but look at your normal December, November, Decembers, and based on this trajectory, you can extend. I mean, what do you see? Is it favorable? Is it?
I think it would be favorable.
I'm just asking the question.
Yes, sir. I think it's going to be favorable. I do know that the only other time, other than the introduction of the fixed route service, that
hey there, my phone is on mute.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That free rides were offered wasn't during the holiday season about 2 years ago, and that saw a spike as well. So that's I think we're on a good track to get people back on and experience it. We did the travel training and outreach as Danielle said. This summer went to all the senior centers, went to District 4, 3, 2, 1. And the response was very favorable, and so we're very optimistic.
Thank you, Ron, for that. Did I hear Dr. Ramona Jackson-Jones, our chair? Is she on this call? You guys? No?
No, sir.
All right. I just want to make sure I wanted to acknowledge if I didn't hear her. All right, Danielle, did you want to respond? Ron, obviously, if you adequately respond, do you want to enhance that response, or?
Oh, no, sir. He hit the nail on the head. Of course, he knows with the numbers and in comparison, and all the figures and facts and figures we get from our operator, bus operator transitions. One thing, the beauty of being out and about in the community is encouraging people to take transit, especially during the holidays. I know within this committee alone, around that Arbor Place Mall corridor, we've talked about it being pretty thick during the holidays. So that's another thing that we would help encourage riders, and we're going to do that even earlier this year. So hope our anticipation is that upward tick. The beauty of this trend is that exactly what you said, sir, is that it is going up. And we want to encourage that even more for the holiday season.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing and updating us on obviously the different venues and marketing tools you use, but also translating that into impact. Is our volume going up? Obviously, all of this, the keyword you use was education information. So thank you for that, Danielle. Well done, very crisp. Kathy, you want to keep us going?
Yes, thank you. As Danielle's transitioning the slide for me, I just want to take an opportunity to reintroduce Dr. Deborah Johnson-Blake, for those of you who did not meet her last time that we presented. She is a valuable member of the SPLOS education team, and she's a resident of Douglas County. She's very involved in the community, and her relationships in the community have been just very helpful. We've established partnerships with a lot of the groups that you're going to see us reference today. It's not just a one and done. They have been with us throughout, and just wanted to mention that.
Great.
So I'm going to give the SPLOS education outreach update since we were last here. And next slide, Danielle, please. Just to reiterate, what I am sharing with you today is the execution component of a strategic SPLOS education outreach plan that we developed at the onset. And as I indicated last time, the plan is built on 3 strategic pillars, and that is educate, inform, and engage. So it's very strategic. We're not just pulling things out of our hat. These tactics and these engagement tools that we are using, they are designed to definitely penetrate this market and really, educate people about the Douglas County SPLOS. Next slide, please. So today, I'm just going to give you a brief update. We'll touch on the events that we've been at, literature distribution, going to the civic groups, high traffic areas, the speaking roles that we've had at these different events. And then we're going to share with you what's coming up next after this meeting and on through October and early November. Next, please. So I just talked about events. So we've had booths and also literature distributions at the events that you see here. We were definitely at September Saturdays last week. We will be there again this Saturday. We were also at the Hollis Street Jamboree and National Night Out. I will tell you that people are interested. We've touched many people and have been able to educate those who, and I'll talk a little bit about what we've heard later on, but those who know about it, those who say it doesn't touch their community, those who didn't know much about it. So we're very thankful that we're able to touch these individuals. We've also, at these other events, we distribute literature. So even though we may not have a booth, when we're out there distributing literature, we are actually talking to people as well. Next slide, please. And this is just some of the pictures, just capturing us in action at National Night Out, September Saturdays, and the Hollis Street Jamboree. Next slide. This is the collateral that we have been distributing. We shared this with you last time, and we are actually going to be designing new collateral that actually has current SPLOS projects and projects that have been completed. They will be included on the new collateral that we'll be pushing. Next slide. So we talked about literature distribution, collateral that I just shared with you. Some of these are areas. This is the faith-based educational institutions, bookstores, barbershops, hair salon, restaurants, and the chamber. The chamber, Douglas Chamber, has been a great partner to us. We continue, again, this is not one and done. We don't have everything on here, but we wanted to give you a snapshot. These are the categories that we focus on most. Doesn't mean we don't go outside of it, but these are the main ones that we, distribute literature, do our literature drops. Next slide. We've also attended various civic group meetings. And at these meetings, we have distributed literature, talked to people. The Douglas Chamber Economic Development meeting, David Good presented there, so SPLOS was actually on the agenda, and we were there distributing literature. You can see the lady there looking at the literature. ABWA and that American Business Women's Association, they've been a great partner. In fact, Dr. DJ was there today at an event. It's the today is National American Business Women's Day, and so every attendee received SPLOS literature. And then the Agape Senior Solutions partner meeting. We've attended those meetings. Again, this is not one and done. They've been a great partner. We have had speaking roles there. We attend the meetings, we distribute literature, and we talk to people. Next slide. Just mentioned speaking roles. I know when we were before the Transportation Committee last time, David Good and I, we presented before the Anawake Trails Homeowner Association. There was a lot of interest, a lot of questions. I just mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, also Connected Conversations. It's a monthly networking event. We've had speaking roles there. We will continue to attend that event, speak and or drop literature. The Douglasville Business to Business, this is a great networking event. We've had speaking roles there. We attended on an ongoing basis. And I did just mention to you the ABWA. We're not, they're great partners. We're going to continue moving forward. Next slide, please. So I touched on this a little bit at the beginning of the presentation. This is what we're hearing, what's being said about SPLOS. And so what we pretty much, we hear a lot, but we try to combine them so that we can just, dial down to you the main themes that we're getting. I always support SPLOS. The 1 cent increase it helps to improve our overall county and community. This is just one of the positive things. I will tell you, we're receiving more positive comments versus not so positive. But, I do want to include a couple of these. So I'm not going to read everything, but one of the not so positive, my neighborhood isn't benefiting from SPLOS, so why should I support it? And so when they ask us that question, we have an answer for them. And then what does 1 cent really do to support improvements in my neighborhood? So, some of it is, I can't see it where I'm at. But overall, as you can see, the majority of comments that we get are, they're happy that this is happening in the county, and they look at the community as a whole. I like it that our fire EMS has updated equipment and fire stations improved, especially as our community grows. Another positive, after learning about SPLOS, I will support it. So I'm just reading a few of these, but I can say overall it's been very positive. Next slide, please. So next up, I'm going to just talk a little bit about what's coming down the pipe and understand what we're presenting today is not just it. We're sharing with you what we have set planned right now, but we're also going to be looking at other opportunities. We're enhancing our efforts, with our outreach efforts. We want to touch as many people as possible in October and early November. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the direct mail, virtual community meeting, digital engagement, events, and literature distribution. Next slide. So we have a direct mail piece planned. It will reach 50,951 homes. The zip codes are 30134 Douglasville, 30135, and 30122 Lithia Springs. The mail date is October 31st. It will be in home November 1st or November 2nd. What is missing from here, we don't have Villa Rica. Villa Rica is 30180. It's about 16,000 homes. And Austell, 30106, about 8,700 homes. And so we want to make sure that the dollars that you're investing in this direct mail piece are hitting the people we needed to hit. There's a lot of spillover into Cobb with Austell, that zip code, and also with Villa Rica. And there's, Austell's a smaller area. So we opted to focus on these zip codes. It's shared mail and we're going through the lasses. To try to keep the cost down, we're doing what we call shared mail. If this committee wants us to look into Austell and Villa Rica, we would have to do solo mail. And that would be more expensive, but we're happy to do that. The upcoming events we're going to have booths and also presents there. We will be at Douglas County's Fall Festival. We'll have a booth there. We'll have a booth at Music and Arts on the Plaza, Neo Plaza. And we'll have presence at Raise the Praise and also Connected Conversations. And I will, again, just let you know that this is a snippet of the already planned events, but we will certainly continue to research and see if there's other opportunities for us to get out there as we enhance our efforts in October and early November. Next slide. I already mentioned that we are going to be incorporating images of actual SPLOS projects, and we'll be doing a photo shoot with David Good, going out and getting actual images. We will be also creating the direct mail piece, which is an oversized piece. It's 10 by 12, or we can do 12 by 10. So we're actually going to do that and not have a vendor do it, so that we can make sure that we capture the essence of this program. I mentioned we will be doing a virtual community meeting. We're looking at the last week in October. We will develop an event plan for this and collaborate with the PIO in Douglas County, of course, and then in the cities to help us to promote this event. Same with, we're going to do an e-blast. We currently have, and we actually collect names at these different activities that we have, so that we participate in. So we have an extensive database for Douglas County and people who have signed up that want to know about SPLOS. And then we're also going to work with, of course, the county, PIO, and the cities and our community partners to help distribute these e-blasts and also place it on social media. Next slide, please. We will continue with our literature distribution like we've been doing in those high traffic areas, with concentration on the areas that I spoke to you about. And then we do already have speaking roles scheduled for the ABWA, also the Junior League of Douglas County. They actually have a monthly meeting, Connected Conversations, again, and Raise the Praise. And that will conclude, you can go to the next slide, we're finished. That will conclude our update. I can entertain any questions.
Thank you, Kathy Warren. Very solid, very thorough update. Obviously, it's all about education. You laid out your thoughts and how we get to the finish line, making sure our public is informed, not making any assumptions about what they know and don't know. And I do appreciate your integrity in showing how people may look at this loss. I get it. In other words, like, okay, I'm getting an extra penny, but how does that impact me? And so, real quick, so is David Good on the line? David, are you out there? I didn't acknowledge you earlier. I don't know if he's on. David?
Here, Commissioner.
All right. Real quick, can you just to dovetail on the back of this? Can you talk about, obviously, she shared how she's putting information out there, and that we have had a SPOS over the past 5.5 years, basically. Can you give a quick highlight on some of the things that we have accomplished within the transportation bucket, please, as far as a number of projects, a highlight of the projects and just the money, because that is relevant. And obviously we cannot tackle everything in transportation, nor in every area, but it is rolling. In other words, will this group win first? It speaks to how our performance was on this current one, and whether or not the public decides to give us permission to do another one. And to that citizen's point, then that you could be next on the list, and hopefully there was advocacy for the concerns that you had regarding transportation in your area. David, can you speak to that quickly?
Sure. Again, David Good, SPOS Communications Director for the current 2016 SPOS, which is going to end financially in 2023, actually April 1st, 2023. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start from what you would say the smallest bucket up to the largest. We had, of course, you had the sidewalks and bridges. We started off knowing that we had some sidewalks that was around schools that needed to be done. So you Chestnut Middle, Nicky Springs Elementary, and I believe there's New Manchester. New Manchester is the one that is still ongoing. It's because they decided to expand the scope because of the new multi-purpose center being built. That is now completed over at Boundary Waters. And then because of a citizen, a young person that was killed out there on Maxim Road at SR6, the Board of Commissioners elected to say, hey, this is a project that we need to get done for our citizens' safety. So because of safety issues, we also brought in that sidewalk project. Down along we call Expo Road, which we make.
David, hold on, David. You got a
yes.
Your connection. If you guys can maybe mute just for a second, in case that's the feedback that's coming, but just we lost you there just for a second. But can you give me a sound check real quick?
Sound check 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, you're good. All right, keep going.
All right, awesome. And then again, that was like saying we were finishing along Maxim Road, as you guys saw that as a safety project. Then going into, we had a lot of intersections that we ended up doing, such as John West Boulevard, Bright Star. That was an important intersection because of how school buses were coming in from the elementary school right down there, making it to the top of that intersection, making a turn. We improved that, one of those intersections. One of the important things was another citizen was killed along the Riverside. Early in the morning, it was dark out there and couldn't see. So street lights needed to be on there, just not like the path of just the citizens walking, but those who are driving and also those who are on bikes, because there's some sidewalk paths going on. One time there were intersections along SR 92 because of how it's set up. There's a lot of traffic out there, but there weren't as many lights. So therefore there needed to be traffic lights. One was installed at Mount Vernon in order to again help out a school area because our sheriff's deputies were out there controlling traffic instead of a light signal controlling traffic. Same thing we did down the street from there at Riverside. We ended up making it a left and right turn instead of traffic just having to try to jet across whenever they get a chance. So transportation really was seen as important in this SPOS because it is 51% of the SPOS. At that time when we first developed it, we felt we were going to get 51 million for that. Right now we are probably on task in order to get close to 10 million more than that, closer to 61 million. So the citizens will see an impact on that SPOS. Some of the other larger things are the way that we were able to have every citizen get impacted is that in every county, in every district, there's a certain amount of money set aside for resurfacing. I believe in Commissioner Robinson's district, they're even doing neighborhood resurfacing. But every commission district did get resurfacing done. I'm not sure the amount of miles, but the total amount of miles per year, is close to 12 miles. So if you divide that by each commission district, that ends up being so therefore there's that impact. We also are doing this Lee Road widening as part of it, as well as we resurfaced Lee Road and then we'll widen Lee Road. That's our largest splash project to date because we're sharing it with the state. So GDOT, I think the amount is close to 24 million. So that will be by far our largest amount. The splash intake on that side is on the $10 to $12 million side. So that's also a project that's going to impact a lot of the district because it's going to be part of a much larger project that ends up going out to 78 on one side and then going out to Bright Star Road eventually on the other side. That's part of the larger project. So those are a lot of the projects that's being impacted in transportation. And again, that's 51%. So as we're collecting funds, we are now collecting about $3 million per month in this last year of SPLOST, which started in April of this year. That's the last year. So we are actually looking pretty good in that, but we are still managing because projects are fluctuating up and down. The supply chain has impacted the SPLOST process and everything. So we are still managing and making sure that we're able to do what we have to do in order to give the citizens what they ask for and what the board has approved. With that, Commissioner, I yield.
Thank you, David. Committee, any questions for Danielle, Kathy, or David for that matter? You guys did a great job of updating. I do appreciate, and Dr. DJ, I know you're out there. Thank you for your efforts in joining the team. And obviously, it's all about relationships, different entry points, enhancements. So we appreciate that. Committee, any questions? This was just the status, again, for the record. All right.
Oh, yeah, I do want to mention one other thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, also, one of the great things, especially when it comes to transportation, is that a lot of citizens have their opinions on things. And whenever they tell me what they're looking for, I end up bringing it to this board, to Director Valentine, to you, Vice Chair and Chair of the committee, about things that they see, whether it's sidewalks that they are looking to have, where there's to put up a light because there's been accidents. So we actually are kind of like fluid in how we discuss things with the citizens. So therefore, they also know that they're impacted by being able to talk to their commissioners, whether it's Commissioner Robinson, who's the chair of the committee, or other commissioners because they're within their districts. You know, and then also they talk to Madam Chair because she's vice chair and she's also chair of the county. So therefore, I really believe that they're feeling the impact of their concerns because they do mention it and we share it with the Board of Commissioners. With that, Commissioner, I yield back.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. That was a good point because to that point, you know, obviously, Kathy, you and your team are out there, you're educating, and you're getting feedback on the overall, you know, shoot, yes or no, up or down. David, we thank you for you also being engaged, giving feedback on, okay, but it's a feedback loop. And it recycles and starts with what can we be doing right now. It's not about the yes or no, it's just that we still have an active need to obviously improve or maintain our transportation system. So guys, thank y'all all for that. We got to keep this agenda going. You guys did a great job. Thank you so much for being here today. And Miguel, Director Valentine, let's keep it moving. Next topic.
Sir. Thank you. We'll stay with the transit theme.
Yep.
And we have another couple items from transit. And Ron, I guess you have a presentation.
Yeah, can you see it?
Yeah. You can.
Okay, great. Okay, so listen, there were a couple items needed to update the Transportation Subcommittee on. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, first off, good news. After several months, we've worked out the MOU with ATL for the going through the scope of work and and getting the information over to them so that they approved it and we're ready to move forward. What's on the schedule is the procurement schedule I just got from ATL. So the task order has been released. Deadline for submission of questions is no later than 2 p.m. tomorrow. They're going to send out a summary of questions on the 28th. September 30th, the pricing proposals are due no later than 2 p.m. And then the October 3rd through 7th is the evaluation of pricing proposals. And then the 7th of October, recommendations for a task order. And then October 10th, issue a task order award, and we will be underway. So the question I had for the committee is that there will be 2 staff from ATL and 3 staff members from Douglas County on the selection panel. what is the preference. I had inquired if Tiffany or Miguel or Frederick, or if you wanted me and my staff to be on there. I'm open, and ATL is open. The dates are of availability for the selection team for ATL is on the screen. I'll leave it open for a second to get an answer on that one first.
Well, if you're asking me, I would think the three people the most influential would be you, of course, Director Valentine, and Madam ACA as membership. So that would be my suggestion of feedback. So keep that clean as long as we've got voices in the room. And the objective was, don't let this get away from us.
Yes, sir.
Make sure that we have our voice in there. I think you guys are the strongest as it relates to this area. And so I'm comfortable with that unless I've got somebody who wants to object to that. And since you asked me for feedback, you might want to object with a counter. I'm open, but to give you advice or guidance in this committee, I would go with those three.
Yes, sir. And I wasn't trying to burden Miguel and Tiffany. I talked to her this morning. They are down to, there'll be two firms, Kimley Horn and RS&H. VHB has stepped aside to focus on transit study in Rockdale. So it should be a pretty straightforward. I'll get with Miguel and Tiffany Stewart Stanley on the dates here that they've offered, and we will set that up. Thank you for that. Next item, the Paratransit Advisory Board. If you haven't heard of it, it's because we don't have one. Well, we need one. The original plan was adopted. The Paratransit Manual was adopted back in May of 2019, and it outlined a structure. This is going to be permission to bring this back to the board, Commissioner Robinson, for approval. The existing structure involved was we thought very complicated, and the FTA didn't think that was necessary. We can get at this much easier with the proposed structure that's on the screen, which would be, board would include Transit Service Coordinator, which is Sharma Davis, the Connect Douglas FTA Administrator, Janet Willis, and then the service contractors on-site manager, someone from Transitions. And then we would have 5 advocates of the disabled community that we would bring to the board for approval by the Board of Commissioners. We have been actively seeking members and interested parties all summer long. I've talked to Ray Lightford. I've talked to Consuelo, Dr. Gilchrist. So we're trying to get some names to bring forward. But the first item is for me to bring the existing structure and proposed structure changes back to the Douglas Paratransit Manual. And I would do that at the first available opportunity for the Board of Commissioners to approve that.
Let me give some additional guidance. I heard the 3 people out of the immediate transportation area. I would say out of that 5 at large, I would want somebody who actually is on the disabled one that actually services those versus the division of the service of mobility. So I would want somebody out of Dr. Gilchrist's staff and somebody out of Ray's staff to be on there as well as advocates, in addition to the public at large. I think that's going to be key to having somebody who has a vested interest in being able to care. And just like we just heard from Common, the earlier presentation, it's that little soft touch. It's not just about the hard, Uber, Lyft, the guys who are actually doing that. It's that person who actually understands that segment of the population. So I'd like for you to take that up for consideration. All right?
Yes, sir. That's a great idea. I don't have any problem with that. I think that's a great idea. I'll get with Dr. Gilchrist. She's actually looking for citizens, but I'll also recommend that we add someone from her staff and from Mr. Lightford's staff as well.
All right, let's pause on that. Deputy, I need you to weigh in on this, obviously, being Deputy County Administrator. Do we support that we at least have somebody on our staff? It's all about growth and development and expansion and get people involved in other areas. What do you think about that? Since this is new, we don't have one. Did we lose him?
I don't know. Let me see if he's still on here. I see Fred's still on here.
Right. Well, we're going to keep going. He may be multitasking. That's fine. Do we know that you got my advice on that? So keep going with your topic. We'll go to the next point.
Yes, sir. Okay, great. I'll look to make those changes and get that on one of the upcoming agendas. Thank you, Vice Chair. I wanted to update you as well, and this slide was a prelude to the common courtesy, but I just wanted to tell you how the voucher program has, we've cleared the waiting list, we've increased vendors, and we've got participation up. So that was very exciting news for us. We continue to utilize this program to help a lot of people in the county. And this next slide has already been covered, common courtesy. This next slide, this was taken yesterday. This is our van fleet, our van pool fleet that's out here in the parking lot. It's been sitting out here for 2.5 years. We have talked to FTA over the last 3 months, and what is on the presentation right now is the option for us to sell the van fleet to Enterprise. The fair market values are listed. There's 80% that's owed back to FTA, and then there's 20% funds to Douglas County. Why would we do this? Well, they're sitting out here and they're depreciating every day. We do not have and have not had any luck forming a single van pool in the last 3 years. Work options, COVID, everything, the world's changed. And so Enterprises comes, we've approached them and we've talked to FTA about what needs to be done in order for this to transpire. And as far as FTA is concerned, I exchanged some emails today with Nelson Delgado, who's actually down in Puerto Rico. His family, everybody's okay, and they are apprised of what we are doing. This would be open up an option for us in a year from now when we bring the transit plan into the role, into the format, into the discussion. We might be able to use micro transit or something of that nature. But if we did that, then we would want to use vans that were ADA compliant. None of these vans are ADA compliant. And as I stated, they're just sitting here. And so this was part and parcel of our triennial was to have a plan in place when we went through the audit. And so I wanted to bring this forward for discussion for the Transportation Subcommittee.
No, I appreciate that. And obviously, this topic has come up in the broader Board of Commissioners and side references. What were the number of vans we're talking? I mean, you said so described, but for those who can't see the slide or who will just be listening.
Right. I think there's 30 vans. There was 35 vans, and I decided we were going to keep a couple back, and and that's fine. We took some of the newer vans with the lesser miles to hang on to them, and maybe utilize them with the existing third-party provider as managerial vans or something like that. But the bulk of them is, I think there's 30 of them here that we would be selling to Enterprise.
And what is the total amount that we think we?
The total amount, fair market value, is $780,570. The 80% that would be owed to FTA would be $624,456. The 20% funds that would come back or actually stay in Douglas County would be $156,114.
No, thank you. I get it. This is a good one. I heard mention, should we hold back? And I understand they can't be repurposed over to areas like the cities because they're not ADA compliant. Duly noted. So they have some restrictive uses or limited uses. But I want to be thoughtful about this. I mean, these are assets that we own, and I get we can dispose of them. Got it. But could they be redeployed in some kind of way? For example, for our Parks and Rec, and we have a sub route that moves between all of our parks. Just a park only for the youth. I'm trying to be creative beyond the normal fixed route, because we have that takes people from just using parks as an example between all the parks or all the libraries or something like that as an enhancement to our fixed route and enhancement and consideration earlier. That's my initial thought, was that, okay, but before I sell them,
Yeah.
is there some other way that we can use them, an asset that we already got on the books? Is there some other area that we haven't thought about? I'm gonna pause for that. For a minute,
Yes.
Ron. Great
Yeah.
job. Committee members, I want y'all to weigh in on this. This is thoughtful. This is a good problem to have. Life happens, you're right. Like workplaces change. People are Ubering, people working from home. It's shifted. People not working the way we want to. So, what do you guys think about this? Miguel, anybody? I just want to hear your initial thoughts, like with me. What we do with these beyond selling.
I'll be happy to weigh in on that. A couple things. Well, first, a question to Ron. The vans, when they're purchased with FTA funds, they're amortized. The initial investment is amortized over a certain time period.
Right.
Typically, after 3 years, you're looking to get new ones or get upgrades. And so these have been around longer than that, at least many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, since they have been around longer than the amortization time period, why do we have to give the funds back to FTA?
No, this is the formula that we were sent by FTA. And so the ones that we auction off, which we just auctioned some off and got rid of those vans. They were 2013 vans, but this is the formula that we were given. Sharma Davis worked very hard on working with this to get these depreciation and get this vetted with FTA, and so I mean this is what we're looking at. I do want to answer the other question. I did open this up starting in June and July. Before the budget process, I spoke with Parks and Rec. We ended up, because Senior Services is under our transportation umbrella, we were able to get some vans to them, but any other department would have had to purchase these vans at the fair market value, and you can see them represented here. I think the cheapest, I think they kind of land in the $27,000 range. Even had code enforcement. I mean, I talked to every department in the county, juvenile, Jennifer King, I have approached everybody about, potentially putting in their budgets monies that they could purchase these vans from. And ultimately we landed upon this after talking with ATL staff, the best avenue forward for us was Enterprise, which would take them, and wants them very badly. So in point of fact, a year from now, because of the way the funding is and because of the grants that we already have, we can turn around and buy ADA compliant vans next year. It would be brand spanking new, and we'd already have a good bunch of that match that would be remaining here in the county in the $114,000.
Ron, and there are 14, this is Sharma, 14 in fact that we are holding back. I know Commissioner Robinson indicated if we could use them for other avenues, but there are 14 that we are actually holding back should something come up. But
Yeah.
we had been working with Enterprise for the past 3 months. We actually sent out over 200 emails to individuals who were previously riders, and so just to see who would be interested. Out of those 200 emails, we received back 34 inquiries, and of those 34 inquiries, there was still not enough to put together a full van pool. That then in turn we enlisted Enterprise to see if they could reach out to individuals to see if they could come up with, at least 4 to 5 van pools where we could get these vans running. But even with the 10 that we auctioned off, Miguel, just on September 9th, since FTA is vested, we got about $184,000 from the ones that we auctioned off. Even with the ones being auctioned, that's still money that has to be returned to FTA. But the meeting that we had with FTA, just 2 months ago. They did indicate that this is not anything unusual. It's not just our county, it's across the board, and it's not unusual to release the vans. They did give an option of possibly releasing vans to other transit organizations, but we felt it better and in our best interest if we were to sell them as opposed to releasing to other transit industries. That way we could still obtain money to keep money for the county as well.
And future match.
So future, yeah. But the vehicles have been, like Ron indicated, have been sitting for about 2.5 years. We're talking about 910 days since March 20th. Every day that they sit on the lot, they depreciate anywhere from $17 to $23 a day.
Understood. And some of them, of course, also lose their catalytic converters. So
Yes, that's a problem too. But
Yeah.
you know, we're getting cameras and we got a fence now, but we still these need a new home, and I would push for us to move forward with this, Vice Chair. This is after an exploratory summer of staring at these things and talking to many people and many departments, this is our staff's best recommendation that we're bringing forward at this time.
As well as FTAs as well.
Any other questions from Stewart? With that being said, duly noted, you answered my question in the response of Director Roberts regarding redeployment in some other areas. Sounds like you've done that. You guys have been on this. So I'm pleased with what I hear. So I have no problem in sending a recommendation to the full board for consideration of disposing of the assets as recommended. Miguel, you want to make a motion for this? You make this a Form 1 as a recommendation to the full board, please?
Yeah, sure. I make a motion that the committee recommend to the full board to allow for the sale of the van fleet to Enterprise. And Ron, can you read off that total amount of the sale? I can't read it.
Yes, the total amount, fair market value is $780,570, Miguel.
Okay, at that amount.
Second. All right, we got a motion and a second. In the clarification of record, $784,000 with the acknowledgement that the board, that FTA gets 80% and the Board of Commissioners gets 20%. Just for the record, so when y'all take the full board, make sure you spell it all the way out, guys.
Yes, sir.
That we're not getting that full amount. All right, we got a motion and a second and the clarity of how to present that to the full board. Any other discussion? If not, we'll go around the room with a full formal yes or no. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Frederick Perry, yes.
Miguel Valentin, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
I think that's 4. I think that's all that's remaining on this committee. So we still have a majority. Motion passes 4-0. Ron, take it to the full Board of Commissioners. All right, Miguel, next.
I have one
Ron,
more.
are you finished, Ron?
I have one more, and it's super quick. Training and review. It's required every 3 years. It looks at the 23 different areas. It was not a statement of what we're doing correctly, but insight into what we need to improve and set up going forward. I wanted to thank every department, because these federal grants touch almost every department. You've got risk and safety, you've got fleet, procurement, finance. We went through 3.5 full days of audit with these departments and the directors of these departments, and we're expecting a formal final report to come back to us first week of October, I believe. And then we'll have 60 days for any of the findings to correct and improve those processes. I've already talked to Tiffany, and since Fred is on here as well, we would really like the opportunity to meet with those department heads at some point in the next, probably in October, to kind of review what those findings are. And then, moving forward, some of those roles that they had not really been completely done in the last couple of years, we would like to set a good process in place to move forward, Vice Chair.
No, thank you for that. And again, to the broader public, I mean, again, the acceptance of federal money comes with a certain standard, a certain expectation. And so it's important that we meet those thresholds. They do audit, which is why I'm a big proponent of make sure we got proper administration, right? Because you can get dinged. But the most part about it, Ron's open comment was, is about improvement. In other words, here's some areas of improvement, no different than our annual audit financially. There's always management comments that they give us, hey, these are areas, not that you're in violation of anything, but these areas that you can really improve on, etc. So thank you for that, Ron. You said October 10th. So what I'd like to do before you bring the obviously the full board is here what the findings are on this program is to your point. If you get your findings back on October 10th, give or take, I know it's on them, you go out to staff. And so based on those findings, I'd like before you present it, submit it back is, but what is your plan to improve? In other words, here's our findings. Now, what will you do to cure what they have suggested to us? So I think that's two parts. We just don't want to hear what they said. We want to hear what they said and what you plan to do accordingly. So make sure you lay out your schedule. So if it's not for the next meeting, then maybe it's the meeting in November. So make that a goal. Obviously, it's dependent upon their delivering the findings to us, so y'all guys have a chance to process amongst everybody involved. Then you come to us, and then we can go from there. Can we agree to that?
Absolutely. That's you know, like I said, we've been we are all working on it every day, sir.
No problem. No. We're on the same page. Deputy, you okay with that? You get your approach, get the findings first, go to staff, y'all all the way into your areas, figure out how y'all going to respond to the suggestions and recommendations from the federal government, and then ultimately bring both of those back to the full board. Can we make sure that happens, sir?
Absolutely. Ron, I know you'll be working with Tiffany on that, but please keep me in the loop.
Yep. Yes, sir. And I'm saying that to you in light of the fact she's not here. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Okay.
I spoke to her this morning, and she's aware. So we were going to sit down next week, and that is all the items we had from Connect Douglas for this meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Ron. Well done. Miguel, let's keep going.
Yes, thank you. Next item, we'll pivot now to transportation proper.
Yep.
And we have a couple of change orders on the Lee Road Phase 2 widening project. As a bit of a backdrop, when we were finalizing the design to just before the letting or going to bid on the project, we were sort of squeezed between having to update the plans to the minimum that was required at the time to get them ready to bid, or taking the time to bring the plans all the way up to current standards. And in the process, we would have missed a deadline for the bid because there was a new set of regulations that was being proposed, and it was enacted back in 21. We were just able to make enough changes on the plans that have been under design for about 10 years or longer than that. And so we made that schedule, but we knew going in that we would have to make modifications as we went. One of the things that is part of the new policy at the Georgia DOT is that the county has to retain, on federal projects, federally funded projects, the county has to continue to retain the design consulting team during the construction phase for what's referred to as on construction modifications. And essentially what that is if something changed between the original design and current, if there was a development that came in and changed something and the plans have to be modified, whether it be drainage or striping or whatever, then the original designer needs to be available to do that. So we have, as part of that process, we have had to make some modifications. However, the next change order that we are presenting today is actually change order number 2. You may recall last meeting we approved, the committee recommended, and the board eventually approved change order number 3. We went out of sequence because we we're trying to negotiate the final numbers from this one, and we just couldn't make the last meeting. But nonetheless, since that time, we've been able to do that, and it will actually result in a deductive change order. There will be $2,445.45 in reduction to the contract price after all of the changes related to striping and some of the signal elements are included in the change order. So there's a lot of new, there's additions of new elements or new types of the same items and elimination of the old, but the net change is a deductive change order in the amount of $2,445.45. What this will do is bring those components of the plan up to where they need to be, and so we were able to proceed with the revisions rather than having it done the way that it was originally designed and then later having to redo it. So that is the proposal. The contract with CMES will be reduced by that amount, and the new contract amount will be $19,702,439.45. So that is the proposal before you. Again, these are changes that we knew anticipated had to be made to the plans to bring them up to where we need to bring them up to current standards. And because we were able to work with GDOT, who has to approve all these changes, and they have to actually be able to provide some of the signal components. They were working on another intersection where they were upgrading that intersection, not within the project, but within the county, and we were able to secure some of those components, so we actually were able to reduce the cost, eliminate those costs from the contract, and the net change is a deduction of $2,445.45. And I'll stop there for any questions.
Yeah, I followed you, and I understand the third nature of having architects along the way or designers along the way for quality controls and adjustments. It's smart in how they change the rules. My question is, I get the deductive, but what was the net growth though? So there was some deletions. How much was added? This 2,000 is just the difference, but what was the full swing?
Well, the total amount, the deduction for the traffic signal was in the neighborhood of about 20,000 reduction, and then there was additions of a directional bore. For example, some of the locations of the new poles, rather than because of the changed conditions, rather than open cut, there will be directional bore underground, and there was an added cost to that. So that was sort of the overall. The biggest component was the reduction in due to the traffic signal component that we were providing from another intersection, which is about 20,000, and then the directional bore added close to 20,000, a little less than 20,000.
I got it. Let's make sure that we get to the full board. We can explain what you just stated, which what was added, what was taken away to fix this deductive net of $2,800. So I'm fine as is. Again, the board will determine this and accept this, but we're going to keep moving forward. Any questions from the steering committee? All right, Miguel, make your motion, please.
Yes, thank you. Make a motion that the committee recommend to the board to approve a change order with CMES on the Lee Road Phase 2 widening project. Change order number 2 in the deductive amount of $2,445.45.
So moved.
All right, we get a motion by Director Gallatin, a second by Director Roberts. Any further discussion? All right, going to go around the room. Yes or no, please indicate publicly your position on this matter. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Frederick Perry votes yes.
Miguel Valentin votes yes.
Ron Roberts votes yes.
All right, the 4 members that are currently here at the steering committee, which is still a quorum, unanimously passes motion and send it forward to the full board. Thanks, Miguel. Next item.
Okay, thank you. The other change order is, as I mentioned, related to the retention or the addition to the Michael Baker, who is the design consultant on the project, to provide these changes that are required to update the plans and also to continue to stay with the contract for any other future changes that we need to make. And that particular change order is in the amount of $77,673.42. So this will carry us, the expectation is through the next year and a half or so remaining on the contract. And any changes that we need to make to the plans would be, the consultant would be on standby to provide those services.
Right, no, thank you for that. So to that point, so we, the Board of Commissioners, will pay roughly $70,000 for these guys to be on standby. Now, we're not just going to pay them on a monthly rate, some type of equal amount, or is this a draw, or I don't have a position which way or another. I just want to hear, what is this? How are we, by having him on standby, we buying his time for when we need something, he's going to do it, or what does this mean to us?
That is correct. The change order is for having them available, have them on standby for a certain number of hours, not to exceed that contract amount or that additional amount for any changes, which we anticipate there'll be additional changes coming, but for any changes that are required, when we propose changes based on change conditions out in the field, we have to go through the process of getting those vetted by GDOT and having them sign off on those as well. And sometimes they ask for things to be tweaked a little differently. So it's not an expenditure right off the bat. It is to be able to have changes made as we go. And the anticipation is that hopefully, unless something major happens, that we'll be able to get through the rest of the project within the balance of that additional fee.
Right, so again, no problem. So it's an extra roughly approximately $70,000 is what we're budgeting. And as he goes along and makes adjustment, it's a drawdown. Is that accurate? Based on time?
Based on time expended, yes.
Got it, right? So it's not just a monthly retainer that he just whenever we call him, it's like it's actual work incurred. Got it. Is that yes or no?
Yes.
Work incurred. Got it. All right, I'm fine. Let's keep our agenda going. We can ask questions within it. Miguel, please put forth the motion.
Thank you. I make a motion that the committee recommend to the full board to approve change order or supplemental agreement number 7 with Michael Baker on the Lee Road Phase 2 widening project in the amount of $77,673.42.
So moved.
We've got a motion by Director Valentin, a second by Director Roberts. Any concerns, questions, clarity needed before we go forward for all vote? With that being said, with no response, I'm going to take that as no. I'm going to go ahead and call the question by saying all around the room, please vote, cast your vote by saying yes or no for the official record. And for the video, Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Frederick Perry votes yes.
Miguel Valentin votes yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
All right, that's a 4-0 unanimous vote of the Transportation Steering Committee on this matter. Pass it on to the full board. Yeah.
Okay,
right.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Lee Road Phase 1 design proposal. Now, Lee Road Phase 1, just as a point of reference, goes from I-20 north to Veterans Memorial Highway. That we discussed the last couple of meetings. We had a proposal for the design component of that project. The proposal came in above the funding that was available. And so, although we have a pending application for additional federal funding before the Atlanta Regional Commission, and we are hopeful that we will get additional funding at some point in time once that process is concluded. Nonetheless, we are wanting to get the process rolling in terms of the design, and what we have requested from the consultant is to modify or scale back, essentially. Give us a proposal not to do the entire design from beginning to end to construction plans, but to be able to get us started within the available budget to get us to what is referred to as concept approval. Now, concept approval as a benchmark reference is what we achieved both on the Lee Road extension and the Chapel Hill DBI. So the initial effort that went in got us to an approved concept for the project. So what we're trying to do is get this project going. The process will take probably a year and a half, 2 years to get us there. But the budget that has come in, or the proposal, the modified proposal that has come in on that is in the amount of $1,295,280.31. The available budget is closer to 1.5 million, just shy of 1.5, and this is just shy of 1.3. So this is a way to get the project design underway while we await resolution on additional funding of this project, which hopefully will be completed fairly soon. I'll stop there for any questions.
Yes, I have questions. So yeah, we've had this conversation about phase one a couple of times. So I want to clarify. So what you're saying is that what is the source of funding for this 1.5 budgeted or the 1.3 that this proposal, this modified proposal comes in?
Yeah, there's several different funding sources on this. This project being as old as it is from 2002, actually, when it got started, there is funding in the original Capital Transportation Fund. There's $567,000, $453,600 in federal funds that will be reimbursable, and $113,400 in CTF county funds that are captured within the original CTF, Capital Transportation Fund. In addition, there was an allocation from the 2016 SPLOST as part of the last reforecast last year of $907,370. So the total funding that's been allocated from the CTF and the SPLOST, 2016 SPLOST, plus the federal funding gives us $1,474,370 allocated to the project. So that is where the funding would come from. That's the available funding. The proposal is for a little under 1.3 million, and that would come from those funds currently allocated to the project.
This is just for design.
This is just
this is the concept.
Concept, correct.
What would it take to do the full design?
Well, their original estimate was about 2.4 million. So take another 1.1 million or so.
I think I get it. I would want to, if you put this work through, but I want a validation of the sources that are there. This is back to my single review of everything, like a lot of buckets here. Now I understand leveraging our capital stack, but I just want to make sure that we're not taking from somewhere else and that this was deferred, it was actually restricted or assigned to these projects. So everything that you just went through, 3 or 4 buckets, I want to make sure that it was assigned to this project. If there's any area in one of these that was not assigned, the board needs to know what that is to make sure that, okay, if you do this, we'll knock that out. Like, if it's in the CTF, you ever was it a scientist, or was it just we're taking money out of the CTF? Was it part of the capital, the overall capital plan, the capital improvement fund? Then I would want to know the same thing. So just only with that condition for the record. So when we get to them, that they recognize that, you know, we didn't intentionally knock something out. I just want to confirm. So I'm trusting that it is, but I want to confirm. Deputy, would you hear that just for the record? I know Tiffany would be here, but just for the record.
Yes, sir. I'm with you.
Miguel, make your motion.
Yes, I make a motion that the committee recommend to the full board to award a design contract to Atkins North America. I'm sorry, no, not the right vendor.
Nope.
To award a design contract to Lowe Engineers in the amount of $1,295,280.31 to prepare the concept report and get us to an approved concept report on the Lee Road Phase 1 project.
Okay. We got a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Motion by Director Valentine. Motion seconded by Director Roberts. Any questions? I just have one, in addition to the comment I made, make sure that those those areas of capital, those sources are validated, and that everything is assigned to this particular project, and if not, the board knows what they are. And this, what you mentioned was, you now mentioned a concept report versus actual drawings, design drawings, which means that, is this what we're doing going to be leveraged up, that with an additional $1 million we'll be able to finish the design? Is it extendable or is it throwawayable? What am I listening to?
It's extendable in the sense that because of funding, we're stopping at a good stopping point, which is making sure that what needs to be the remedy, or what is the best remedy to the need, is identified. And there will be some schematic drawings prepared as part of it, but the full design would follow the guidance in the concept report. So it's not a throwaway. It is the prep for the final design.
Understood. Now, I think to that point, I think that was some of the indigestion or pause on me. I'm like, okay, now where y'all gonna cut this through? How y'all gonna do this in District 1? Which is why it should have went first, but because of it wasn't as clean as extending, going up the way, the other way, obviously widening and extending all over Chapel Hill. This one has some neighborhoods, some other impacts. So I guess the concept we'll get into, okay, so now how are we gonna do that based on some of this initial feedback, some of the economic development that's happening out there? So I think that this is an appropriate course of action. Got it. I'm good to go. All right, steering committee, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments? If none, we're going to go on and read for the official record. Please put forth your vote, yes or no, regarding this matter before the steering committee. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Frederick Perry votes yes.
Miguel Valentine votes yes. Ron, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Second.
No.
We're voting.
Yes.
Okay, we're voting yes. All right, that's a 4-0 unanimous vote. Let me pause on that. Ron, you do know what you were voting for, right? I gotta pause. Do you know what you were voting for?
Yes, sir. It was actually, I'm sorry, I had to take a phone call down here. I remember seconding the $1 million contract for the
No, you're good. You did give a second.
That was the second, and then so we were just voting on what I just seconded.
Very good.
Okay.
Great cleanup. Because again, I wouldn't want you to, that could turn sideways, and we wouldn't have something you had no idea. But you're good. You
so good.
That means you're aware enough. We're good. All right. Motion still stands It's carried unanimously. Well done, guys. We're good. Miguel, what else we got?
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is there is an annual MOU that we enter into with the city for the holiday signal timing, and the amount, typically they pay half of the cost. We've been able to modify that. It used to cost us somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000 to $30,000, but now with this new vendor that we have, plus the ability to monitor through the transportation or traffic control center, the amount is $6,960 to be split between the city and the county, with the county to pay $3,480. So I would need a recommendation from the committee to the board to enter into that memorandum of agreement with the city. The vendor that's going to be doing the work would be Eli Weiss.
Who are they?
They're a traffic consulting engineering firm. And it's the same firm that we contracted with last year, and they held their price from the proposal from last year. So
we only paid $25,000, so we got down to $6,000, right?
Well, no, my reference to the 25 was that in prior years before last year.
Real good. We got new guys. Got it. All right, no problem. And this is pretty straightforward. Again, this is when we talk about traffic during holidays, and then like in Douglasville during traffic time. And so anything we can do to make this better, this is a worthwhile, this is appropriate use of taxpayers' dollars. So we got, you got to make their shopping experience work for them. So absolutely, I have no problem. Miguel, make your motion, please.
Yes, I make a motion that the committee recommend to the full board to approve or enter into an MOU with the city of Douglasville for holiday signal timing and monitoring in the amount of $6,960, with the city to pay half of the cost.
All right, you have the motion.
I second the motion to approve for the holiday signal timing with the city county MOU for $6,960, with the city to pay the half.
Okay. Deputy, you okay with yielding to his second?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that's fine. All right. So we got the motion by Director Valentin, we got the second by Director Roberts. If no further questions, we're going to go on the room for an official record and accounting of this. Since we are at Zoom, we must state it and not just say alone, say your name and what your position is. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Frederick Perry votes yes.
Miguel Valentin votes yes.
Ron Roberts votes yes.
All right, we got a full unanimous vote go to the full Board of Commissioners with this. All right, Miguel, anything else?
Thank you. Last item is really just initial discussions on this bus forecast.
Yes.
We have talked about that previously over quite a number of months, but one of the things that we're doing is going through the projects that were on the original list, transportation projects that were on the original list, and the ones that haven't been started yet or we're below the line, so to speak.
Yep.
We're having to sort of predict or forecast what the final numbers are likely to be, so that we can adjust that line to see what now can be within the available budget and we can proceed with, and what is going to fall below the line, so to speak, and will be subject for the next lost if the citizens approve it, the referendum in November. So that's where we are now. We're fairly close. We're just waiting on the final numbers of predictions to be able to strike that line where it's going to be. There's going to be a need to shift some of the funding. As you all know, the cost of doing these projects has escalated substantially, And so we're having to be more realistic as to what a budget for these projects can be. And so we have some projects that are already in play, that the design is already, getting finalized. We have projects where the design is essentially complete. We're waiting on permits to be able to take them to the next step. So that's just wanted to give an update as to where we were and stop there for any input that you may have.
Absolutely, and again, I'm hopeful we now have a new CFO. Ramona Bibbin and David have been doing a great job with the Atlas AC Russell team and keeping up with our spots. But I'm back to it. Let's make sure we have a certified and verified single view of our entire spots, which I know you guys are working on. To that point, just for the record, and not necessarily to you, Director Valentin, but just in general, the expectation is that the original spot said that we would get 51% or roughly $51 million for transportation. We had an original list of what we thought was going to be on that list. I need that to run out against that 51 million. Where we're at, most projects may be already done, but there may be some laggards. They are above the line. They are green. Anything that came because of the additional economy that's going up and allowed us to get this extra, that has a line that needs to be, okay, we're just going to make an assumption about what's going to land in April next year. That may give me another 10 million, 11 million. That becomes yellow. Then anything that doesn't make that is below list to go to the next SPOS. But it has to be, what did we say we originally were going to do? Stay there. Be accountable for what we said from day one. That we said we're going to do these things. This is where we are against the 51 million. We were lucky that, I don't want to call it luck, COVID hit. Feds came in, the economy rolls up. But we had no effect on that. So we can't claim that we had some good estimates on that. It's because now it's this reaction that the sales tax came in that we got that. So we can't, I don't want to take credit for something we didn't do. But it allowed us to do some extra stuff because the list is this long. So okay, we can go down the list and get some more things through. Maybe some extra 10 to 20, 10 to whatever $1 million. And then everything else is below the line becomes a new line. So I'm saying this so all of y'all consistently, that's what we're looking for. The original assumption, the original list, 51 million, what made it? That goes. Anything with this new $3 million per month that we're getting and stuff, that's the next list. That's the yellow. It probably will go. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. This thing could taper off. So I don't want to make no assumption that, okay, you're going to keep extending for the next 7 months at $3 million. You better hedge that. Don't set that expectation. You have no control, so you need to have something more conservative, like we did originally. You need to have a conservative of that. And so that's all I'm saying. So you can, if I were doing it, I would look at, as you said, month to month. Last year, so look at every these 7 months backward for the past 6 years and come up with an average. There's an easy way to get there to figure out a number on what it would normally be. Factor in the COVID, to go back to it, look at them 7 months, lay them on top of each other, and average them out. And that should be what your number could be based on obviously assumptions. Don't let y'all figure this out and see how good y'all are at math. But Miguel, I'm fine with that estimate. And again, the expectation is that it's going to be before the full board at our next meeting. So I'm trusting that you're working with everybody and that the full SPOS is reconciled, not just you. Deputy, this is more to you, not only Miguel, but also the other two areas must be accounted for. And that we're going to have a single view of everything today, and then obviously something that will go forward. Is that your understanding, sir?
Yes, sir. And I look forward to working with David and Madam CFO and Rosalind to make that happen. We're actually working on that now.
And Miguel, I'm trusting Miguel is in the room now. I don't want to be like, well, he's doing this independently. He needs to feed and be in that room, y'all. Whoever the heads of each of these areas, they all need to be in that room.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's all that. So they all have their active voice, not a proxy, not sending an email over the wall that he's in the room. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Miguel, you good?
I'm good.
Thank you. Anything else that needs to come before this committee?
That concludes the agenda for me.
All right. All hearts and minds are clear. I'm pretty much exhausted, so that was a long one. But we're good to go. Great job, guys. And that's all I can say. Thank you for the work and the effort. Thank you, Miguel. I do appreciate your service and everything. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, the citizens of Douglas County This Transportation Committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners is hereby adjourned. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.